So I look forward to sharing with you today the updated strategy. And what we essentially will be covering today is basically defining Janison. What is the organization's new strategy? Why do we think we are in the best place to be able to successfully achieve that new strategy? And then, of course, the market context in which we are operating, the blueprint for growth. So what are the key things we're going to do to make sure we are growing? And then the focus for year one, this is for FY25. Then the team and culture, what are we going to do in terms of our executive leadership team and the culture to ensure we can deliver successfully on our strategy? And very much the outlook. The outlook is very much at a very high level, our approach to building revenue and also cash flow and margins. So in terms of defining Janison, this is basically almost our strategy, a slide in our strategy on the page. So essentially what we'll be doing is that we will be doubling down on our strength. And if you look at what Janison's strength is, it's about delivering reliable, scalable, and accessible digital assessments globally. If you look at where Janison started, when Wayne and Jackie Holden started Janison nearly 25 years back in country New South Wales, right? It's one of those pioneering organizations who developed a technology platform which actually provides kind of the whole platform end-to-end for delivery of high-stakes assessments and other mid to low-stakes assessments as well, globally across the world. If you look at it before then, the main players in this industry were large, very large, established, typically American organizations. I think for an Australian organization that originates in country New South Wales, to develop something is highly innovative, right? And this is something where our core expertise is. So my strategy is very much, kind of honing down, doubling down on basically what our core strength and expertise is, but in a manner that we are supported by delivery services, the delivery of assessments, and also by content, select content. Because together between the technology being at the forefront, supported by our delivery services, which is helping organizations deliver assessments, the brick and mortar and the invigilation and so on, along with the select content that we have, ensures that we can provide that end-to-end service to our customers, which is required for the long-term relationships with our customers, and all with a view of unlocking our growth opportunities for the organization. In terms of our customer value proposition, what is the value that we bring to our customers? If you look at it, for educators and learners who are seeking a seamless, impactful assessment experience, right? So we have the technology that ensures that when learners are taking the assessment, which is a very high stakes environment, right? Because taking an assessment can be life-changing and most often is life-changing for learners around the world. We can make sure that we offer that in an equitable, scalable, accessible, and reliable manner so that learners can have access to opportunities they deserve post-assessment. But we're doing it, but our value proposition is that we want to do it in a manner where one of Janison's core strengths is by bringing the human touch. Because at the end of the day, assessment technology, we are using assessment technology, but the technology is to say change the lives of human beings, change the lives of learners who are taking exams through our platform around the world. We want to make sure that we provide the best technology, complemented by the human services, the human touch, the personalized services, the personalized support. And in my listening tour of shareholders and customers in particular, that comes up often as one of the key strengths of Janison, of why people choose Janison and why we have got long-standing customers working with us for a very long time, is a personalized support and service that we bring to make sure the technology journey is seamless and impactful. And in terms of our unique selling proposition, if you look at our technology platform, what the technology platform enables us to do is make sure, yes, deliver tests in a scalable, reliable manner, but also in a manner which is equitable. So if you look at the example we have with NAPLAN, we deliver the exam across Australia, perhaps one of the largest school exams of its kind in the world. But we also deliver it in remote parts of the country where there is kind of internet connectivity challenges, but in a manner where you can take the test digitally in an offline manner. Similarly, I think we can deliver at scale. Typically, if you look at NAPLAN exam, during peak, we are delivering 4.4 million tests to about 1.2 million candidates, and nearly about 300,000 of those concurrently. So that ensures that it doesn't matter where our candidates are, we make sure we provide that equitable access to opportunities through our digital platform. Because at the core of what we do is the learners. as a core of what we do is educational transformation and changing people's lives in a manner where the experience is impactful and accessible and equitable. So essentially, that's how I'd summarize what our value proposition is and what our unique selling points are. Now, in terms of the purpose and mission, the purpose remains unchanged. Our purpose is to unlock the potential in every learner. It's all at the end of the day, I think technology is a means to an end. We want to make sure the learners that we actually we are interacting with, they can unlock their full potential to be able to demonstrate their skills, to be able to access opportunities post-assessment through the experience they had through Janison platform. And our mission is very much to empower educators and learners worldwide with innovative and accessible digital assessment experiences. So it's very much as an organization, we are staying true to our mission and staying true to our purpose, but doubling down on it and doing it better and at scale. Now, the question, of course, is why assessment technology, right? It's one of those areas, unless you are in the industry, you don't really hear of it much, right? It's only when you actually, either as a parent, come across your child taking an exam in a platform or you're working, it's quite niche, right? And why is it that me as a CEO and us as an organization are so passionate about assessment technology? Because for us, assessments are not just tests, they're actually powerful tools that unlock potential and provide opportunities for learners to demonstrate their skills. And we see as an organization, our opportunity is to invest in that assessment technology to actually be able to ensure that learners around the world can access opportunities in an equitable, scalable, and reliable manner. And by doing so, we transform the future of assessment as an industry. It's all about providing those best opportunities to learners by investing in the technology that has always been our core competency from day one. Now, why do we think Janison is in a strong position to actually say, yes, if our strategy is all about doubling down on our technology platform in a manner where we provide support services of helping organizations deliver and select content services, why do we think we're in a strong position to be able to succeed in that? And here are the 5 key points. First is that we have got 25 years of experience in innovating. If you look at, again, very much, as I said, when Janison started by Wayne and Jackie, the organization is founded on that great piece of innovation. Educators who thought bold, who thought big, who did not feel intimidated by the geographical barriers of being in a very remote part of a very remote country. But we came up with a platform that actually delivers exams that very few organizations around the world could at that time. So we have that spirit of entrepreneurship, that spirit of innovation. And secondly, of course, as I mentioned about NAPLAN, we have that experience. We have the track record of being able to deliver a huge number of exams simultaneously across geographic regions and diverse internet accessibility. And we know often you hear in the papers, often assessment organizations, that's the biggest challenge. When you're offering exams concurrently, that's where all the challenges come. We know what high stakes assessment means. We know assessments actually make a difference to people's lives. We know the importance of making sure that can be done at scale in a reliable manner. Then the end-to-end assessment solution. I know we often talk about the technology platform as a single platform, but if you unpack the platform, it actually does everything right from developing your items to actually being able to develop your question papers, to be able to render and people take the test on the platform, to be able to mark the papers, analyze the results, proctoring, whether proctoring through AI or human invigilation, and being able to release the results. And all of that, of course, is complemented, for example, for Department of Education in New South Wales, also with the help of actually delivering the test. Often for organizations, delivering a test can be a challenge. How do you source your test centers? Where do you source your invigilators? So all the delivery services, they make a huge difference. Plus, we also offer content services as well. And of course, our approach to content is a pragmatic one, whereas we do have some exams that we own, some content like ICAS and AAS. But similarly, for projects like Department of Education, we also work with our partners like Cambridge University Press and Assessment, who provides the content, given that they are world-class leaders in that field. We have expertise in education industry, as I mentioned. The organization is founded by educators. Many of our team members are educators. So we instinctively understand the needs of the learners and the educators. And finally, the last point, we have the data and actionable insights. I know a lot of us hear that, but not many of us actually are using the data. I wouldn't say Janison probably has been using data to its fullest capability, but that's the opportunity we have. We have huge amount of data of over 20 years of delivering exams, where we can use the data to actually make sure that our technology platform, our services are more insightful and more precise and more timely for our learners. And these are the 5 reasons which makes me feel very confident that yes, Janison will be that global leading organization in the field of technology platforms, and by harnessing our core strengths as an organization. Then that's very much kind of summary of what and the why of our strategy. And now next couple of slides, what I really want to focus on is the context of the market. Everything, strategy is not in isolation, is very much in the context of the environment we are operating in. And this is very much the context. So if you look at the external market dynamic, the 3 words I use to summarize the external market dynamics is growth, AI and innovation, and of course, the competitive landscape is evolving. So of course, there's various data you can look at. We've also worked with Nous Consulting, a strategy consulting firm who specializes in our sector, work with them. We've also read many different reports. And essentially, if you look at it, I think by a conservative estimate, there are different numbers floating around, but I choose to use a conservative estimate of about the global assessment market is projected to grow to about $21 billion by 2030, and at a kind of between 10 to 12% of compound annual growth rate. So it is a market which is growing. It's a market that is increasing. And what are the key drivers for the growth? The key drivers are 2 reasons. One is population growth, right? But especially in emerging nations around the world, where there is more young people, which automatically means more participation in education. And more participation in education means more need for assessment. But the key drivers, in addition to that, of course, is the way the whole assessment landscape is changing, right? There's more demand for globalized nature of assessment, more standardized assessments which are transferable around the world, can be benchmarked to international standards, also kind of shifting from assessment on its own to what you call learning-oriented assessment, where you're embedding assessment into the entire learning cycle. And of course, the need for greater scalability, greater efficiency, all of that. And of course, all of this is getting possible because of the huge advancements we made in education technology. Then AI is a very interesting field for our industry because it's one of those industries where AI, if harnessed in the right manner, very much your tools augmented by AI, very much what you call the human in the loop model. That means a number of problems they're solving for customers and for learners and educators. One of them is the problems of whether cost efficiency or scalability or greater accessibility. We are already working with quite a few of our customers trying to use AI, to develop AI tools together with them to ensure that we can meet some of the challenges for our customers. Similarly, AI is one of those tools that can enhance learner experience. We are reading around, whether it's in Australia or the UK, the challenges that our school K-12 sector is facing, with a fewer teachers going into the sector, more demands on teachers with larger class sizes. AI is one of the areas where it can make sure that when you're, as a teacher, with very little support in class, managing a diverse range of 25 to 30 kids, you can actually provide the diverse personalized learning outcomes. It can help you with class preparation. It can also help you with providing those timely, insightful kind of feedback to your candidates, which helps them on their own personalized journey. Then data-driven insights. The data that we have at the moment is actually being able to provide real-time analysis and feedback, allowing more precise measurements, of learner performance. And that's where I think Janison's a huge strength. We have a huge strength of the data that we have. And the AI investments that we are beginning to make actually is possible also because of the huge amount of data as an organization that can make AI a more precise tool. In terms of the evolving competitive landscape, one is, of course, we see that now we are, almost all assessment providers, platform providers are investing in AI-driven tools to ensure that, that they can provide better experience and be more competitive. Of course, security and integrity is always a big challenge in an industry where assessments can be high stakes and can be life-changing for the candidates who are taking the exams. So huge investments being made to kind of further strengthen security and integrity through investment in technology. Inorganic growth, we are seeing a lot of inorganic growth through acquisitions to enter new markets or to kind of acquire new competencies. And finally, of course, slowly you can see more innovative entrants into the market, which means there's a potential for market disruption. And this is very much summarizing, the AI. AI is going to be transformative. It is already beginning to be transformative for our industry through the precision of learning, the greater efficiency, and the whole kind of real-time insights will fundamentally change. And from my perspective and from Janison's perspective, we see this as an opportunity for our organization, an opportunity to invest in these new trends and to be able to go back to Janison's root of innovation in technology to provide the best possible experience to our customers. Now, in terms of, that's very much in a nutshell, what the strategy is and what the market context for the strategy is. Now, what are we going to do as an organization to grow? How do we make sure that we can actually kind of leverage on those emerging trends of technology, the market growth, and we ensure that we can be that global leaders we want to be? And essentially, our growth strategy is underpinned by two areas. One is by repositioning the organization, and the other one is scaling. And all of them done through innovation and through strategic partnership. So I'll unpack that a bit more. By repositioning, there are three core things I mean. One is very much, simplify the Janison story. Who are we as an organization, right? So that our story resonates with our customers, resonates with our shareholders, with staff, and the wider community as a whole, right? And that is we start doubling down on our technology platform. We start innovating and making investment in the platform, which actually beautifully aligns with our mission. Our mission is to drive impactful educational outcomes through innovative and accessible digital experiences. And secondly, what we want to do is also we want to simplify our content portfolio. As you know, there are quite a large number of products in our content portfolio of perhaps various degree of maturity. We want to make sure that we focus on the top two, which is ICAS and AS. Our focus is on maximizing value, making sure that they are profitable and they are actually delivering value to our customers. And do all of this in a manner that we are strengthening market presence. And the third one actually is very important because I've been in the assessment industry for over 20 years, right? And when you talk to people about what Janison does, people get impressed, but very few people have actually heard of Janison. It's one of those great stories that's never been told. So I think the focus has to be, whether directly by us or through our strategic partners, we actually kind of make it very clear to our customers what our brand proposition is, what is the value we bring, and we are seen and heard. Because at the end of the day, we want to make sure that when someone is thinking of an assessment platform, let's say in the UK, they are thinking of Janison. So the raising the brand and the impact we create is really, really important. And then, of course, is scaling up. So I keep talking about NAPLAN and Department of Education, right? But there's so many opportunities which are similar, right? While we've done some great stuff, I think there's an opportunity to do great stuff multiple times and about scaling. And firstly, of course, scaling is in the K-12 sector. That's where our core expertise is, whether it's actually working with the British Council, working with the Singapore examination boards, with NAPLAN, or with Department of Education, that's where. So our strategy is very much making sure our current K-12 customers, we strengthen relationships, we build those values, we maximize value for our customers, and then we replicate them, scale them up, whether in Australia or overseas. Then, of course, we expand into new segments, either through growth of new markets or growth of market share. And that could be either kind of testing and building in new sectors like higher education and vocational education. It could also be kind of expanding other areas where we work, but it's opportunity to grow, like professional accreditation and government. And we see doing a lot of this work through strategic partnerships. And I know I've used the word strategic partnerships quite a few times. And that's basically, my experience in my last organization as well is, how do you scale an organization at the bottom of the world, but where there is needs for your services in other parts of the world, right? You can do one customer at a time, which will take us forever. Or we say that we actually partner with organizations who offer complementary services and products, who have those presence, who have the market insights, who have the distribution channels. A great example is the partnership we have with Cambridge University Press and Assessment for the New South Wales Department of Education contract, where we are helping the DOE digitize their selective high school exams. We are providing the distribution and the delivery, whereas Cambridge is providing the content. It's a great example of organizations being able to do, organizations coming together. So strategic partnership is going to be, but we want to be scaling up our strategic partners beyond Cambridge and be able to have the right partners in the right parts of the world so we can scale faster. And in terms of which markets we're going to go to, which markets we're going to go to is a combination, it's a pragmatic strategy. It's of course based in our market analysis of the markets with the highest opportunities balanced with risk. They could be OECD, English-speaking countries, similar to Australia, where our experience in Australia matters, but also a combination of the emerging countries or emerging nations with high youth participation in education, like Asia Pacific, Middle East and North Africa. So it's going to be a combination of OECD English-speaking countries and emerging regions. Now this slide, I think what I try to do in this slide is demonstrate basically what is our scaling strategy. How does the organization grow through the evolution of assessment technology across 3 horizons? And essentially what I've done is Horizon 1 is basically the next 3 years, FY25 to FY27. Horizon 2 is FY28 to 30. And Horizon 3 is FY30 onwards. So our focus now between now and FY27 end is very much to build on our core and to make sure that we have an AI-augmented, AI-powered product. By scaling, I mean very much how do we scale through strategic partners. We expand geographically and expand across new markets and sectors. We start building a scalable operating model, which is fit for purpose for a global business. We start growing our team in the UK. In terms of our product, we see our product being augmented increasingly by AI. For example, AI marking, AI item development, AI, kind of remote proctoring. So adding AI to augment the entire assessment cycle and focusing a streamlined product portfolio of technology plus delivery, plus a small select range of assessment content. We're looking at kind of bringing the innovation spirit into the organization, establishing innovation hub, prototyping new ideas along with the customers, and also integrating AI into our operating model. The work on that has already begun. How do we use AI to actually make sure that in terms of our sales, our marketing, our account management is more precise, more scalable, and cost efficient? Horizon 2 is very much, once you've consolidated your position in Horizon 1, that's about expanding and becoming almost that emerging global leader position at the top of the industry, making sure we have a large established UK team, we have an established global operating model, our product is AI powered, and we're also trying new kinds of other technology. And by FY30 onwards, Horizon 3 is almost a cutting edge technology and almost an opportunity to reimagine the entire organization's business model. So it's very much the whole kind of philosophy of evolving as our assessment technology evolves through kind of investment in our product and through the pragmatic and smart strategy of scaling up. Now, if that's our focus across, over the next 5 years, what really is our focus in year 1, which is the current financial year? Year 1, our overarching goal is very much to build the foundation for long-term growth. And that's really, really critical to ensure as an organization, is there sufficient investment in our product, in our vision of where this organization's products could go, what the customers need, how our product is continuing to evolve to meet the evolving needs of our customers. Do we have the right foundation in terms of the right leadership team, right ways of working? So making sure that the right foundation ensures we can scale, at pace and repeatably. From that perspective, we are looking at 5 core focus for this year. The first one is very much ensuring that we elevate our core platform. by investing in the platform and integrating AI, by making sure we aggressively growing our pipeline of opportunities, whether with existing or new customers. Refine our portfolio, make sure that we do a few things, but do them really well. Thirdly, make sure that as an organization, we have that customer-centric and innovation-driven culture, that we keep customer at the center of everything we do. At the end of the day, as an organization, if you're customer-centric, we are obsessed by the customer, we always deliver to the customer what the customer wants at cost, scope, time, and quality, then the business will come automatically. Innovation-driven culture. We want to make sure that innovation is part of our DNA. And by innovation, I don't just mean AI and new technology. Innovation could be also how we look at things, how we do things, how we solve problems in a resource-constrained environment, right? Always thinking outside the box. And of course, we want to evolve our leadership. I think very much making sure that we have an executive team who are based on functions. And while doing that, we're also establishing the right operating model for global scaling and start laying the foundation of building our brand and greater visibility of our brand. And all of that work we'll do, all of that work is going to be underpinned by 5 base principles. One of them is very much, our change narrative is all about simplifying our organization, unifying our organization, and by being bold, right? And we do that by making sure we are always having that laser sharp focus on our customers. There's focus on fewer products, and is focused on growth, efficiency, and capability building. We also acknowledge that transformation is going to be multi-year, where year 1 is going to be very much building the foundation for sustained and repeatable growth. We want to make sure that we have some smart metrics which will enable us to measure in a very timely manner how far or how on target we are in achieving our goals. Want to make sure that we're doing that by building the foundation for the right operating model. And all of this is being done in a manner that we are also kind of managing our cash flow prudently so that we are able to grow safely. In terms of our team and culture, this is very much, the executive team. And the key things I want to point out, 2 key areas I want to point out here is that 2 of the roles in the executive team are going to be growth-focused roles. So there will be a growth-focused leader based in Australia, looking after all of Australia and the regions right from, let's say, South Asia to here. And then there's going to be also a growth-focused executive based in the UK as well. So that way, I think, we're making sure that we are investing in 2 growth-focused executives who are working on building the market, building the pipeline, building our brand and visibility. Because remember, we serve an industry where, where the sales cycle is long. You've got to build those relationships. You've got to build those trusts, right? So I want to be able to demonstrate we will put in all the hard work required to make sure that in the coming years, we have this growth required, whether this part of the world or from UK and surround. Similarly, we are also recruiting for a Chief Technology and Product Officer. That role is critical because we've got to make sure that our product, which is backed by technology, is actually best in class and is what customer needs. We are also looking for a technology and product leader who's going to be a thought leader in this space, who's participating and driving many of the conversations around technology and product in our industry. Many of you know Stuart Halls, our CFO. We are also bringing risk to his portfolio to ensure that we are growing safely as we are implementing on this strategy. In terms of our ways of working, we want to make sure that there are 4 ways of working that as an organization we stick to at all times. One is a customer first in every decision. One is very much that ambidextrous leadership that you need in these days, which is being able to serve customers what they need now, but in a manner that we're keeping one eye on the road ahead as well. So we change as the market changes and the customer needs change and evolves. We want to debate passionately and commit fully to make sure we are having those lively, good, robust debates required for true innovation. But once we make a decision, we are all behind it and making sure we deliver. And of course, having the spirit of learning and continuous improvement. Only through kind of learnings and improvements, we continue to be excelling as an organization. In terms of outlook, I think our main 4 areas of how we'll be kind of growing our revenue is very much consolidating existing relationships, expanding those relationships, then scaling that into new markets and new geographies, and focusing on meeting the end-to-end needs of our customers, and fully understanding that our customers are looking for assessment technology, but often supported by services, and we provide the full services to build those long-term relationships. In terms of margin and cash flow, very much, as you know, the recent reshaping of the business has created some headroom for investment and growth, and we are making sure that we are making those very targeted investment to grow the business. We are also going to be investing incrementally with sales, marketing, and account management as the business continues growing, and we align our cost base and investment and growth with our available capital. And finally, to wrap up, very much our strategy is to very much double down on delivering reliable, scalable, and accessible digital assessments globally. And by doing that, we unlock new growth opportunities for our organization, but do that in a manner where we are supported by our assessment delivery and content services to provide the end-to-end solution for customers. But we do it in a very simplified way, in a very conscious manner of fewer things, rather than being all things for everybody. And this approach ensures that we are driving long-term value for our customers, which in turn means long-term sustainable value for our shareholders as well. So, sorry, I spoke very fast because there's a lot to pack in a very short time frame. And how are we doing for time, Steve?
We have time for questions.
Great. So, very happy to take any questions at this point.
Okay, if you could raise your hand, please, if you'd like to ask a question, or alternatively, please put them in the chat in the channel. But very happy to take questions both from the room and also from those attending virtually.
We have a question here. This Cameron.
Right, thank you, Sajada. Cameron Hubbard from Wilsons. Can we just start with the role of AI within the platform? Looking ahead, you're seeking to elevate the platform and its offering. Conceptually, what does this look like when you think about the platform today? Would this be AI to accelerate content creation, improve reporting, marketing aspect of the platform as well? Can you just conceptualize some of those ideas for us?
I think AI, if you look at the entire assessment cycle, there's an opportunity for augmenting AI into almost the entire cycle. But the first area we are focusing, where our founder Wayne is building, is very much what we call an AI item development tool. To give an example, when we had the recent restructure, we halved the size of our item development team. And the whole idea is not to do less, but the idea is to augment it with AI too. So it's very much how do we use an AI tool to create content, which is then reviewed for quality and all by human beings. So very much what we call the human in the loop model. And that means that now if you look at the number of, I come from assessment, that's where I spent my entire life, the number of items that human beings alone can develop versus the number of items that can be generated if you use the AI tool. Then if you look at the scalability, if you also look at the cost, right? The cost of actually using AI is like you're halving your cost almost, right? And this is something that we're looking at doing both internally for our own internal item development, but we are also working with some of our customers to solve customer problems. And our approach has always been working with customers using AI to solve their problems. I know Rebecca's working on this project, so Rebecca, do you want to add anything else?
I think we've answered it quite naively there. I think just other parts to add. So we are already using AI in our delivery component with our proctoring, so AI fits in there. And then the next couple to rank, shall we say, is the marketing component as well.
And we have that advantage because we have a huge amount of data that can make the AI tools we are developing quite precise. Because to a large extent, how good your tools are depends on the amount of data that you have.
So would you consider that volume of data the business has over its number of years in operation, that that is a strategic advantage when you are using AI to develop this content? I mean, every business at the moment, I think, is either using AI or trying to use AI in some way, rather than consider, perhaps Janison, just another business starting to use AI. Is the data you have over years of operation a key aspect that, say, maybe some of your other competitors wouldn't?
I would say yes. I think most of our competitors who are operating at this level probably have the data. We always have to be mindful you're using the data in the right, lawful manner. So that's really important. I think the whole legal and legitimate use of data, that's really, really important. But I would say that, yes, I think it's basically the two things, right? I remember a long time back, I had attended a session by the chief design officer at Lego, right? And they talked to us about the whole concept of data, right? There was one image with a huge pile of Lego blocks, right? And another picture was this beautiful house with a little family and cars made of Lego, right? I think most organizations do have that huge pile of Lego blocks, which on its own is of no value to anyone. Our objective is how do we use the data to build that beautiful house, which actually creates pleasure to the little kid playing with the house and so on. So I think that's the main difference between data. A lot of organizations do have data, but how do you use the data in a manner which is, of course, lawful, but also in a manner where you actually leverage it to provide better experiences and solve customer problems.
Just one last one. When we look at the higher education market, which you're starting to think about, I think the word there was consider, it's within the presentation.
Yeah.
Kind of two-part there. When you think about the strategic partnerships, would this be the likes of, student management system providers, learning management system providers, or something else?
I think it could be a diverse range. It could be a diverse range of like we want to make sure that that we have that diverse range of strategic partners. They could be like organizations like Cambridge, who are actually world leaders in terms of brand experience and quality in the field of assessment. It could be somebody who's actually, exactly as you said, Cameron for LMS, because if you look at the complementary services could be learning management, the complementary services could be assessment, the complementary services could be student mobility. So looking at basically what are the complementary services together, we provide that cohesive end-to-end. We are already making some good progress on the strategic partnership area. So hopefully, as and when they come, we look forward to sharing more details.
This is that big opportunity, right? Just take universities or something like that. They might use a Exemplifier, University or whatever, right?
Yes.
If you guys can get in there, get the history of high stakes digital assessments, quite hybrid digital exam world, that is a big opportunity versus perhaps just targeting your chartered accountants, banks, etc. Right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you.
Do we have any questions online? A question here in relation to performance targets. Have they been set for FY25 and beyond?
So we do have what we call the KPIs that we have set internally for the business. They're essentially, the key areas where the business must move the needle in the right direction to build an organization, to be able to achieve that. So, and my performance and the performance of our exec team will be, kind of monitored along those KPIs.
Again, a follow-up question, which is in the same vein, just in relation to there's a reference to many qualitative objectives in the presentation.
Yeah.
And the question is, what are the key numbers, both KPI and financial, that the business is going to be measured on going forward? And are you intending to disclose those to shareholders?
So we are developing those, for FY25, our KPIs are smart. It's all kind of specific, measurable, so that there's very little subjectivity to it. In terms of our longer term numbers, we are developing them, but I am not in favor at my month 4 to be sharing targets, at this point. And, so what we're going to do is have that more qualified, measured way of developing targets and KPIs and quantitative numbers that we at the board establish them. But at this point, I'm not going to be sharing any kind of quantitative data because it's still very early days.
Okay. I've had a third question in the same vein, so I think something we might take away from today is to go back and examine how we strike a balance between what we disclose publicly. We have an AGM coming up, I think, in November.
Yes.
And we may well look at what additional colour we can provide around those metrics and targets. Yeah,
we can do that. I think, look, I acknowledge that. But you have to remember that this is month 4. This is just hot off the press. So next step is going to be actually working with the business, myself, and developing a plan, the actionable plan. So basically, right? And the actionable plan is going to be our updated 3-year strategy. And that's going to be a rolling 3-year strategy. So which means that we're going to update it annually. It's not going to be something set in stone. and then forgotten about, right? So I acknowledge that. I think that's a very valid feedback. But the next step is going to be very much, for FY25, we have those smart KPIs, we have the smart metrics. We will do that for following years. But as you'll also understand, I'm not going to be setting KPIs for 3 years from now when the entire world could change in 3 years, right? So it's going to be a very agile and a very deliberate way of, doing timely annual 3-year updates. But I take it on board. I think at the AGM, perhaps we can share what the smart metrics that we could share with the market, which enable you to measure our success as well.
You just talked about simplifying the content portfolio. Is that reviewing some of the assets within the Janison portfolio?
Yes.
Do you want to repeat the question for the audience online, please?
Yes. So the question from Will was clear.
You talked about simplifying the content portfolio. Is that reviewing the existing assets?
Okay, so it's a review of the existing assets in the context of simplifying the portfolio. I think if you look at Janison's portfolio, I think where the key, if you look at the revenue, the top revenue comes from the platform and a combination of ICAS and AAS, right? But there are lots of other kind of smaller products at kind of variable degree of maturity, and which are kind of a source of distraction as well. We're looking at how do we simplify that. And in terms of where we are right now, Will is very much looking at kind of focusing on the top 3 that I mentioned. How do we deprioritize them? And following deprioritization, what are the options? Do we just wrap them up? We sell them? So looking at that. So we're going through that process.
So Jana, you mentioned UK and Australia where you're going to deploy some growth capability. Total addressable market was 20-odd billion plus by 2030. Imagine a large part of that's North America. That's absent from the presentation. Should we think that it's not on the roadmap, or is it just in the out years? Or how do you think about that?
So at the moment, I think, Peter, from that perspective, I think what we're looking at is, at the moment, kind of because we're aligning our resources with the capital available. So we feel like if strategically, if we have a growth executive in Australia and a growth executive in the UK, you should be able to cover majority of the growth markets, including North America. But in addition, what we're doing also is that we're establishing an advisory committee. The first advisory committee meeting is end of October. And the whole point of the non-advisory committee is actually to have leaders in our industry from the key markets, including Canada, USA, UK, Southeast Asia, who will be advising us and being champions for us in those businesses, in those regions. So North America is part of our roadmap. But given that the advanced investments in UK have already been made, we've got an executive based in the UK who's done had some good advancements made in the last 1 year. We want to continue with the investment and and support the surrounding region. And then as through the advisory committee, we make progress in other regions. And as the business keeps coming in, we incrementally grow our investments in growth focused roles in other regions as well. Thanks, Peter.
We have one more question online, and this is, I think, in your 3.5 months in the business. What challenges have you found that you need to address in the coming months?
I think in terms of challenges, I'm just thinking which is a number one I should share. Sorry, I think. So I think in terms, I think there's an opportunity. I see it as an opportunity. And I see it's an opportunity for the organization to go back to its whole original kind of culture of innovation and customer centricity, right? It's actually making sure that, there's an opportunity for us to, we kind of clarify our story of who we are, not just for our customers and shareholders, but internally for our staff as well. Simplify as an organization who we are, what we do, what customer problems do we solve, right? And then making sure that is actually complemented by the right culture of innovation and customer centricity. I think, if we can achieve that this year, that's huge, I think, So I think that's I see it as an opportunity for us to, kind of re-energize as an organization, be bold and have the laser sharp focus on what we want to be. And fully acknowledging, we can't be everything for everyone. I think who we want to be also has to have those hard, conscious decisions of who we don't want to be as well. and not to be afraid to make those decisions.
Okay, follow-up question that relates to cash and cash generation. It's really an outlook as to what the profile for cash looks like, and have we considered a buyback?
In terms of, if you look at year one, which is FY25, our objective in FY25 is to have that laser sharp focus on building our foundation, building our pipeline, building our brand visibility of the strategic partnerships, and making sure we are steering the ship in the right direction for repeatable, scalable growth. But do it in a manner that at the same time we are delivering modest growth. The business is growing, and also as far as our cash flow is concerned, we are managing the cash flow and managing that as well. So that will be a great outcome for the business that I'm kind of, my targets are to deliver the transformation while delivering some modest growth while managing our cash flow.
Sorry.
Sorry,
You go for it.
just on modest growth, how should we think about what does sort of modest growth mean to you year on year, and being mindful that 25 is a sort of rebuilding year,
Yes.
rebasing year?
Yes. I think it's I just don't want to share some exact numbers, but modest growth means that the business is still growing. But remember that we are FY25, as you mentioned, Peter, is the year of rebuilding the organization. And it's also a year that we are going to be starting some conscious decisions of some customers that we let go. It'll be the year one of actually building after going slightly backwards, if that makes sense. So I think I'm looking at a level of modest growth, which means it's still growing, but not at double digits. Yeah.
Which is really a 26 year long. This is when you expect to see the pipeline that's been repositioning delivered to that sort of stronger growth outlook.
Yes, that's the objective. The objective is that we make that laser sharp investment in growth. In fact, many of my growth leaders, including Steve Smith, they're here. So if anyone wants to speak, they're here. But the answer is yes. I think we see this as a transformation being a longer term, next 16 to 18 months. Yeah.
Okay, we might take one more question from online. And this is before your time, I think, Sujata, but it's a comment that when ICAS was originally purchased, it was expected to be a strong growth engine. How do we plan to grow the business when schools are short of resources and parents are challenged by cost of living? I think
that's a good question. I think as far as ICAS is concerned, I think the most important thing to note is that the environment, as I think the person who's asking the question has said, the environment in which ICAS operates has changed, right? It's a very different environment. So for me as a business, I think what we have to keep thinking about is, if you keep doing the same, is it going to achieve the results in an environment, in a market which is completely changed, right? It's almost like, can we continue giving the service we're giving to customers who are actually our loyal, long-time users of ICAS? But is there actually an opportunity for us to reimagine ICAS as well? Reimagine, basically, one of the options could be, is there an opportunity for a competition test like ICAS outside of Australia? But outside of Australia, I don't mean, going and selling it to little by little one at a time, but partnering with big school systems, right? Partnering with big organizations who work in the school sector and looking at, can we introduce that? So I think from our perspective, I think, we acknowledge that ICAS actually operates in a very different environment to when it was bought from University of New South Wales. So my strategy is to basically look at ICAS in the context of the school system, whether in Australia or overseas right now, what value it can add, and how can we deliver that value, whether it's actually, through strategic partnerships, introducing it to school systems around the world as well. And could we actually use technology to provide better, timely services as well?
Okay, we have one more question that was too good a question not to ask. In your previous roles, could you please provide an example or give us something about your track record of turning around a business that has a strong legacy and perhaps had lost its way?
Where do I even begin, right? So yes, that is my track record, and that is actually what made me so attracted to Janison, the role at Janison, right? So if you look back at my last role as a CEO of Cambridge Boxer Language Assessment, so I was a founding CEO of the company, and I moved from Cambridge in the UK to Australia in 2013 to establish a company. At that time, I think Janison is in a million times better position now than when OET, those of you who are familiar with OET, in 2013. It was, if I can use a language, one step away from the brink, right? But how do you actually transform an organization? The biggest challenge I had is, how do you transform an organization where literally there are 9 people in the entire business? You have got customers who are shouting, and you've got no money, right? So then what I did is, I worked with this research company called Forethought, and I worked with them previously in my time at IELTS as well. So I brought them in and said, can you help me do a stakeholder or a customer perception kind of satisfaction survey? So basically to understand what the key drivers of satisfaction for our candidates were, what mattered to them most, and how we're performing against them. And then, of course, they came back with 15 things or 20 things matter to most of the customer. But actually the top 3 things matter, where the needle will shift in the right direction, is making sure we're giving them a professionalized test day experience, right? The test is accessible. People don't have to travel long distance to take the test, and there's enough preparation material available. And I only focus on those 3 for the first 2 years. I did not, look at the rest, right? And also, how do you make sure you have an accessible test delivery network around the world, right? And that was through strategic partnership with our majority shareholder, Cambridge. We built a global partnership. So rather than, the whole philosophy of, do you recreate the wheel, or you actually, piggyback with your majority shareholder, who's a good world leader in that. So as a result, the organization actually posted profit in year 1, which is 2014. And then when you establish that leadership and you stabilize the business, it's all about growth, right? And while you're growing and expanding the business, you have to be able to take calculated risk as well. Very much, the whole concept of, you're never going to be 100% ready. If you're waiting for 100% ready, things will never happen. But realize that when actually you're 80% ready, you start expanding, and the rest 20% you can build as a new business comes in. So having that very pragmatic approach of flying the plane and building it at the same time, and also making those bold decisions in the middle of the pandemic, like OET nearly came to a standstill because there was no revenue coming in. And at that time, we had the opportunity to break into the US. And it's all about being honest and transparent with your customers, right? Our US customers said that in the middle of the pandemic, difficult for international medical graduates to come in because the exam they were using went under. So here was an opportunity for OET to actually help US healthcare in a time for once in a lifetime pandemic. But we were honest and transparent, said we were not ready. Our computer-based testing, we had just signed a contract for delivering computer-based tests, but we actually accelerated the project and delivered an 18 months project in 3 months, but fully acknowledging in 3 months, it was the minimum viable product to deliver tests to our US candidates. We were honest and said we will both learn, and through the learnings, we get better. So I think one of those growth, what I've learned through that is, coming to a customer in times of help, you build a loyalty, but you also have to be honest and transparent of how together we will learn, and being able to also understand that in times, how sometimes, what matters to the customer first can be delivered, and then you keep improving on that. So hopefully in a very roundabout way, I've answered your question about, so that's always been my track record for the last 11 years of turning around businesses. I think Janison is in a great position. It's got $40 million plus of revenue. It's got some amazing customers, very loyal and very high stakes, right? And we've got a great team. So it's all about how do we make sure that we actually keep giving our customers what they need and what they deserve, but at the same time also keep expanding and also make sure that we re-energize the organization and refocus on what that matters the most.
Okay, I think that's a great note to finish. Thanks very much, Sujata. Thank you all for your attendance in person and online.